Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Mac. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the world of Star Citizen over the past week. Links to everything discussed can be found in the description below, so let's get on with it. This week we hear more about character customization, armor modularity, plus short updates on Item 2.0, the Contellation Aquila, and the Caterpillar. So this week's ATV was a very short and sweet one. It was from the LA office. They started out by mentioning we now have 1.5 million citizens, so welcome to everyone who is new to Star Citizen. I'm sure you'll settle in very nicely. We started talking about Star Marine and beyond in regards to armor. They have the light marine armor pretty much set up now. They're updating the medium and the heavy. They've almost finished the medium armor. Then they're going to roll onto the heavy armor. It does look very, very cool. They're going to have a completely modular character system. They have such great quality in materials and textures, plus the modularity. They want you to be able to swap things out, and I think I remember ages ago them saying about swapping out maybe a CPU in your helmet to get a better targeting or life support system, something along those lines. Very, very cool. Moving on from that, they talked about Item 2.0. Now, the Hornet, as we can see here, it has its own item options. You've got huge pilot ladder, which would enable you to climb in, close the pilot canopy, close the ladder, or open the co-pilot canopy, because obviously the Hornet F7M has access to co-pilot and the main pilot seat as well. So you'll be able to decide whether or not you want to close or open each canopy separately, deploy, redeploy the ladder, so on and so forth. My only concern is that under heavy fire, you don't want to have to mess around with all these commands, these inner thought commands floating everywhere. I'm hoping there is just going to be like a quick option to just get into your ship quickly and start her up without having to faff around with trying to find the right button. Anyway, they did say that Item 2.0 won't only be for getting in and out of your ships. This is used for things around your ships, so accessing components, removing components, basically every single thing, every interaction within the world will be Item 2.0, which is why it's such a big part of this game. And that's why it's, they're taking the time to get it right. So, after that, we take a quick look at the Connie Aquila. We saw some progress. Obviously, the major difference of this compared to the Andromeda, which we have at the moment, is its nose. The Aquila is more semicircular to give you a better field of view, as this is the exploration variant. All they did was basically took the Andromeda apart and then just swap out the nose and the other parts of it that are different as well. I cannot imagine it will take too long to get this out because it is a variant rather than a brand new ship. So fingers crossed we'll start seeing the Constellation variants much, much quicker. So the ship shape this week was the Caterpillar update. Now, we've seen the grey boxing of the Caterpillar and we've seen how it's going to look sort of art-wise, but we've not seen them together. This is the first time we've seen them in engine, walking around the actual ship with all its assets. We didn't see much of it, unfortunately, but they are now building out everything for the Caterpillar. They've got they're working on the engine exteriors and filling in the final rooms inside the main body. It's going to be the first big cargo ship. And also the first sort of new proper Drake-style aesthetic that we haven't really seen before. The command module does look very, very cool. That's, again, they needed to make it look like a separate ship on its own, but also be able to fit and belong to the rest of the body as well. And I do like the look of that. It looks pretty beefy. The interior has always looked awesome for the Drake Caterpillar. I am so hyped for this ship. They say next up, the tech team needs to make it all functional. After that, they need the sound, particle effects, and animation. So it does sound like they've got a lot of work to do, but hopefully it won't take too long. So, after that, we had Tyler Witkin giving us the community update. Most valuable post goes to Citizen404 for the new Star Citizen wiki. Website is starcitizen.tools. Very, very cool. Full of pretty much everything Star Citizen. Always a good way of catching up on the lore or things that you're not too sure about. So to finish off with, they did a behind-the-scenes look at the tech content, and we spoke to Sean Tracy, among others. Basically, they're all working on specific pipelines within the tech content, and what the tech content team does is they serve as a support department for all content creation pipelines. Currently, there are 5 pipelines. We have characters, faces, ships, environments, and animation. Talking about ship damage, they say they're breaking ships apart, then adding the debris, and then ultimately the sort of final explosion will be added. We also saw how head rigs get prepared. The heads are looking very, very cool, I must say. This is apparently a tier 1 head. If you don't know, the characters are listed in tiers. So tier 0 would be your Mark Hamill characters, the people who are the most famous in Squadron 42 that want all as much detail as possible. The secondary characters will be tier 1, and then tier 2, so on and so forth, to whoever's just like, the janitor in the corner, whatever. But anyway, 2.6, they say, brings the new naked male. Slightly different compared to the old male, because the old one does kind of look like a mannequin. This one looks very realistic. Obviously, things like your hands, when you are seeing them in first person, they need to be super realistic. This has so many more benefits, and it just does look more real. Anyway, that was Around the Verse. As I say, very short, very sweet. Let me know your thoughts. Let's move on. So, for those of you who are interested, myself and BristolBoy88, who is a Twitch streamer, share a birthday which is on the 17th of this month. We have decided to do a joint live stream to celebrate, as we felt it'll all be cool for everyone to get together and have a few beers. Plus, we have got loads of stuff to give away, including 2 Hornet F7C Star Citizen Squadron 42 combo packages, courtesy of Community Manager, Disco Lando and CIG, an Aurora or Mustang Squadron 42 Star Citizen combo starter package as well, thanks to Captain Webby. We also have 3 Merlins, 2 $25 gift cards, a Terrapin brochure, Star Citizen badge, pack of cards with a notepad, plus some random hanger flair as and when we feel like it. We will be starting at 6 PM BST on the 17th of September and having a party up until about midnight. Everyone is welcome. We want to get everyone in there. We're joining communities and uniting all citizens. So be there. Links to both my channel and Bristol Boys are in the description below. We hope you'll join us. So compared to Around the Verse, Reverse the Verse was a little longer. It was about 40 minutes in length. The first person we spoke to was Josh Herman, who is the character arc director. And he was just talking about the character pipeline and in general talking about modularity specifically because obviously 2.6 needs to have this in as well as the persistent universe itself. They really want to make Armour modular so you can be able to swap out different types. You can perhaps have a heavy chest piece or a light helmet. They want this to be a thing. The questions for him, the first one was, will we ever see character model damage states? And he says they are working on it and looking into it, similar to what the ship team does, but they need to figure it out first. So yes, that will be coming. Second question was about concealed handguns and whether or not we can conceal weapons on ourselves. And he says it is something that they can do, but then they haven't looked at it yet. They need to figure things out to make it more, playable and make sense. For one, they need to know what the animation looks like and where you're pulling this pistol from. Also, will other players be able to tell if you're carrying a pistol, and to what degree can they tell? So a lot of gameplay aspects come into it, not just for AI, but for real players to be able to determine what's going on as well. He said he wants it to look good, it needs to look good, and it can't look cheap. So it sounds like something will come along, but we have to wait and see. So next question, do visors on Marine's helmet come down, or can you lift them up? And he says they are built to do that, but right now they don't. Everything is planned to be flippable. I'm hoping they're just talking about visors. Anyway, next question. Is there any update on the female model? And they say they've finished the base as we know. They're getting all the heads and the skin colours, etc. working. Then they're going to work on the female clothing options. Obviously, every male option or every male item they need to have the female equivalent. So there's a lot of work behind it. But it's coming along by the sounds of it. Next question. Will there be any limitations when it comes to fitting different sizes of armour to another size? Very similar to what we just mentioned earlier on. He did say that 80 to 90% of items will fit together. The rest will be more sort of selective, bespoke pieces that won't fit, kind of like armour suits on their own. So next question, will we be able to have medium armour on one leg, and then maybe light armour on the other leg, and then a heavy chest piece and so forth, just mixing and matching? And he says everything is built to do that, or to work that way. It is more down to performance and performance limitations. So it sounds like it's possible, but if everyone's using these different items, then it could cost a lot on the hardware. So, moving on. Any advantages from each tier of armour? So, obviously, by tier, they mean light armour, medium armour, heavy armour, and so forth. And they say, definitely from a gameplay standpoint, obviously the light armour, as you could expect, will be much faster. You can manoeuvre much quicker, probably more quiet and sneaky, but it will take less damage. Whereas the heavy armour will be very slow and lethargic, but you can take a hell of a lot more damage, more like a tank. This is obviously based on your playstyles, plus the job requirements of whatever it is you're partaking in. So if you want to be sneaky, you're not going to go running in there with a huge heavy armour and a pair of Gatling guns. So next question. Can we get piercings or cigars and all these sort of accessories? And he says yes, absolutely. Question after that is, the female is shorter, how will they fit in the cockpit standard size? If you don't know, the male character, they cannot create a fat character or a too skinny character or a really tall. They have to be around a certain level for them all to fit in the standard size of the seats, the cockpit seats. So the female is slightly shorter, but they did say that it's going to be more on the tech and animation side. It'll be like getting into your wife's car after she's driven it, where you may have to adjust the seat. They'll have a similar thing in the game where you can just make little adjustments maybe to fit better, but they will likely be automatic. Anyway, next question is, will there be consistency in body colour tones? Because at the moment, the skin tones from your head to your body to your arms is a bit skew-if. And he says, yes, skin tones should match. They are using something called object culling, which is if you're wearing a t-shirt for example, your skin underneath just gets removed, so it's no longer there, so they don't have to render it. This also helps with performance, as there is less to be needed, but it also helps with clipping issues as well, so the clothing underneath will not clip through or your skin underneath, sorry, will not clip through the t-shirt because it's not there. Holsters, are they considered as clothing articles with different colours and so forth? And he says, well, the more considered accessories, you should be able to customise them your own way, but they're not classed as a clothing item. So from there, we met with Sean Tracy, who is the technical director of content. This man, when he talks in depth, a lot, very technically minded, so a lot of it goes over my head. But anyway, we'll start with the new base mail. He says they need it to be more sophisticated for culling with clothing and so forth, going back to what we were talking about earlier. And as mentioned, you see your hands a lot. Your arms, your hands, they all need to look realistic and alive. They can't look like stupid mannequin hands just flapping around in front of you. So that's why we've got the new base mail, as well as other things. There's a lot more to it, but a lot of it was technical talking. First question for him was, how does zone culling work, and how does it allow them to show damage and tears, etc.? Now, they want you to take damage, and they want to, just like on ships, they want to take the ship damage and then apply that to characters. The difference is that ship damage, that system, is not as straightforward as swapping it over because it is set up for ships specifically. From what I understand, they say they now have the ability to add culling zones, so I think what he was saying was that this should allow for when your clothing tears. Obviously, if you're just using these simple culling things where if you're wearing a t-shirt, then your skin or your body has disappeared underneath. If you get a tear in your t-shirt, then you're just going to see nothing because your skin has disappeared. So I think they're having culling zones which, instead of just the whole body being, removed, they will have certain aspects where if you get shot or damaged somewhere or, torn by a knife, then part of that will be torn open and you can see it from underneath. That's the idea I get from it. It does sound very cool if that's what they're going to achieve. Next question, what is the biggest tech accomplishment that you are proud of the most? And he says that he's always been impressed with the first demo that they got for the actual Kickstarter campaign where they were, on flying around the Bengal. He says that was very impressive for the CryEngine in its state at the time. But since then, he's now more proud of things like the Gamescom demo and then so on and so forth. So every time something new is released, like the ArtCore fly down, he was proud of that. Now it's the latest one is the Gamescom demo, the 3.0. Obviously, as things go on, he gets more excited and more proud of them. Next question, will there be mesh deformations to simulate muscle contractions, etc.? And he says they are already in, it's just the current suits don't make it obvious, so it's not dynamic either. It doesn't run at real time because that wouldn't be very cost effective, but they will likely make it more notable later on. So second to last question, what else will show up in 2.6? Will we have item 2.0? And he says the helmet 2.0 is very important, much needed. Basically, the helmets are still on the old system, so with this new FPS, the HUD is not updated, and he says it's just not fun playing with these old helmets, so he wants to get the new helmets in as quick as possible so that it's ready for the release of the FPS Star Marine. So final question, how much does the Star Citizen version of the CryEngine vary from the base engine? And he says massively. It's pretty much not the same thing anymore. Obviously, the basic architecture will be the same because it is that engine, but things like 64-bit and your shaders, just a lot of changes. He did say that he would love to change the third-person button because he's not fond of it, but there you go. So after that, we had Jared just sort of saying, the ATV will be from Austin next week. We've got Dave Haddock's Lawmaker's Guide to the Galaxy coming as well. On the 17th of September, Wing Commander 2 is celebrating its 25th anniversary, so they're doing a live stream with Ben Lesnick on this channel, on their channel. Plus, it's full steam ahead to CitizenCon. Anyway, that was Reverse the Verse. Some really cool stuff coming out, especially with Armour. I'm so excited to get my hands on some of these new Armour assets. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Also this week, there is a new United post titled Emboldened Outlaws. Bug Smashers episode 32 is available, revealing a tiny snippet of Star Marine. Galactic Tour is back this week, where you can choose your favourite combat ship between the Vanguard and the Hornet, and the winner will be available for purchase again. September's Hangar Flare is also available for subscribers. This month it is another space plant. And finally, the monthly report is available for everyone to read, but do not worry, I've created a video on it to save you time. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for watching, and thank you to our subscribers, plus a massive thank you to our patrons as you make this possible. If you like what we do and want to help us make it better, follow the link in the description to our Patreon page to learn more. So in the environmental art, we saw a lot of cool environments with 3.0, including Vista's scene from space, the Levski interior, the moon base with its small compound.
I can see why a lot of people aren't, and I can see why a lot of people who are into their, computer tech are not into it. But I'm a big fan of Apple. They just, for me, they just do it right.